She thought she could destroy my life with a single swing. My car, my sanctuary, my pride, was gone in an instant, reduced to shattered glass and twisted metal. And all because one woman decided she was the law, the judge, and the executioner of our neighborhood. But what she didn't know was that every move she made was being watched, recorded, and would come back to haunt her. How do you fight someone who believes they can get away with anything? And what happens when the tables turn in ways she never imagined? But this is just the beginning. What she did next would escalate far beyond her worst tantrum. Life in the neighborhood had been quiet, almost painfully ordinary. I had just moved in, carrying a single obsession with me, my matte black McLaren. That car wasn't just transportation. It was therapy, a reward for years of hard work, and the only escape I truly allowed myself. Every morning, I'd sip coffee on the porch, watching the sun hit the hood just right, feeling a rare kind of peace. The streets were calm, the neighbors polite, and everything seemed perfect, until a letter appeared on my windshield. Not a note, but a declaration. Someone had already decided my presence, my car, even my happiness, was a threat. Little did I know that seemingly harmless warning was only the opening move of a war I hadn't signed up for. And what happened next would push me into a nightmare I never saw coming. For the first few days, I tried to shrug it off, thinking the note was just a paranoid warning from someone with too much time on their hands. But by the second week, the tension in the neighborhood was palpable. I noticed Karen lingering near my driveway, watching from behind hedges, clipboard in hand, muttering to herself about community standards and dangerous vehicles. The McLaren had never left the driveway except for a gentle drive to the grocery store, yet she acted as though it were a weapon of mass destruction. Neighbors whispered about her complaints to the HOA, all claiming I was a menace, reckless, and somehow a threat to every child within 5 blocks. Then came the first real sign that this wasn't going to stay on paper. One morning, I stepped outside, coffee in hand, ready for a quiet day, and froze. My car, my pride and joy, was no longer pristine. The windows were cracked, the paint scratched, the tires slashed. The reality hit like a punch in the chest. Someone had gone full Mad Max on it. My stomach churned as I noticed a neighbor peeking nervously from across the street. I saw Karen and the landscaping guy last night doing something, she whispered. It looked weird. I didn't panic. Instead, I smiled, because what she didn't know was that the porch light security camera had captured everything. I pulled up the footage frame by frame, and there she was, Karen, swinging a hammer with a manic intensity, lecturing her imaginary audience on neighborhood safety like some suburban horror show. The realization was chilling and exhilarating all at once. She thought she could act without consequences, that she could break, destroy, and terrorize me while claiming moral high ground. The next days became a tense dance. Karen sent emails to the HOA, blasting me as a speed demon, a public menace, someone endangering lives of my out-of-control vehicle. Each message escalated, painting me as reckless in the eyes of the neighborhood. Every glance from her felt like a calculated move. Every step near the driveway attested her power. But with each attempt to intimidate, I only grew more determined. I began collecting evidence meticulously. Timestamps, witness statements, decibel logs proving my car never broke a single rule. Every late-night surveillance review strengthened my resolve. This wasn't just about a car anymore. It was about standing up to someone who believed the title made them judge, jury, and executioner. And as the tension mounted, I realized Karen was digging her own grave. She had no idea that her actions were creating the very proof I needed by the time I contacted my lawyer. The stage was set. The harassment, the property damage, the lies, it was all on tape. Karen thought she had me cornered, but in reality, she had played her hand too early. And when the next confrontation came, it wouldn't just be a battle over a car. It would be a reckoning she never saw coming. The courtroom was silent. Every eye fixed on the stage as Karen strutted in, clipboard in hand, radiating confidence as if she were about to hand down justice herself. I sat calmly, heart steady but adrenaline coursing, knowing the evidence was stacked in my favor. The slideshow began, a high-resolution screenshot of Karen mid-swing. hammer in hand, her floral housecoat a bizarre contrast to the chaos she'd wrought. Gasps echoed through the gallery. She sputtered, tried to object, but the judge's steely gaze didn't waver. Then came the emails. The HOA-wide blast painted me as a reckless menace, accusations that had terrorized the neighborhood for weeks. My lawyer presented them one by one. Each word highlighted her obsession, her lies, her sense of entitlement. Karen's protest grew louder, but with every objection, her credibility crumbled further. The room seemed to shrink around her, the weight of her actions finally pressing down. And then came her confession, delivered with the most chilling calmness. I neutralized it. I did what the HOA should have done months ago. Silence. The kind of silence that tastes like both fear and triumph. The judge leaned back, expression unreadable, letting the words hang in the air like a verdict yet to be spoken. I could feel every heartbeat echoing in the room, every 10 seconds stretching into eternity. For the first time, the reality of the situation hit Karen. Her power had limits, her rage had consequences, and her recklessness was now her own undoing. The scales of justice, long ignored by her, were finally tipping. And in that pause, that heartbeat of anticipation, the courtroom knew the reckoning had arrived. This was the moment she realized. Her attempts to dominate, intimidate, and destroy had only set the stage for her own downfall. Karen's defeat was total. The judge ruled in my favor, awarding full damages for destruction of my car, legal fees, and compensation for the harassment she had inflicted. 2 weeks later, a new McLaren arrived, same matte black, this time with subtle red calipers and, thanks, Karen, stitched into the leather headrests. Every detail was a quiet, satisfying reminder that justice had been served. Meanwhile, Karen's life had unraveled. Financial ruin, a shaken reputation, and the cold realization that her actions had consequences beyond her control. But the real victory wasn't the car or the court ruling. It was the message it sent. Titles, authority, and assumptions of superiority do not grant the right to harm, intimidate, or discriminate. Her attempt to impose power over me, to dictate what I could own or enjoy, mirrored the subtle yet destructive ways systemic injustice thrives. And when those systems are challenged, when evidence, courage, and perseverance align, accountability is possible. As I drove through the neighborhood, slowly, deliberately, at exactly 10 miles per hour, Karen's frozen stare felt like the weight of history itself. The reminder that standing up against injustice, no matter how personal or seemingly small, matters. Every swing of her hammer, every email, every whisper of control had created a story worth remembering, a story where the oppressed refused to be silenced. This isn't just a tale of a car or a neighbor's tantrum. It's a reflection of the countless ways people face arbitrary rules, intimidation, and prejudice in their daily lives. The question lingers: how many Karens exist in our communities, workplaces, and systems, and how far are we going to hold them accountable? Justice isn't always immediate, and it isn't always easy, but it is possible. And every act of courage, every decision to stand firm against injustice, is a step toward a world where no one can swing a hammer at your dignity and get away with it.